ancient civilizations have always reported seeing odd things in the sky, or like seeing gods descend from the heavens. And it's like, let's take for example the pyramids, right?
Egyptians.
The modern theory suggests that ancient Egyptians created these things out of hammer and chisel, and then rolled these giant stones, these giant granite stones, over to the site, because wherever they were cutting down that stone, it isn't produced naturally in that area where they put the pyramids. Was it Giza? The pyramids of Giza, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had to cut the granite stones with hammer and chisel miles away, and then roll them over to where the site is at.
And don't forget, these were carried by slaves that weren't even fed well. Like, you really think they're gonna make it?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, just
I mean,
the more you think about shit, like, the more you realize, like, damn, there's a lot of flaws in these stories. Like, think about it.
It wasn't until I started working this summer in construction with my uncle that I realized the people that believe that the stones that were gathered
never worked in
Egypt, have no idea of what they're talking about. I've used a hammer and chisel to break down cement. It barely does a scratch, man, and it's cement. It's an easy.
Even like wood, you try to break wood down with the hammer, like.
Just imagine granite or limestone. Like, just
That's
imagine,
heavy,
dude, a whole big tons, like these megalithic stones, and then they carry them over with these fucking logs, supposedly.
And these people, like, they should get an idea of how big these things were. Like, you standing, you're probably still shorter than just one block of these.
Oh, dude, definitely, man. Definitely. You're way shorter than one of those blocks of stone. So it's like...
Just a reference.
And they supposedly broke them down with hammer and chisel. These slaves. First of all, they were slaves. It's like... The people that worked on this had to have some kind of knowledge of construction work, at least. At the very least. I mean, they can't be slaves. You can't just force them to cut down stone and then... how are you going to teach a slave?
Yeah.
It's got to be someone that has practiced artisanship or something like that, Okay, so the thing about the pyramids is that a lot of people get upset when conspiracy theorists come at them when they say, oh, it's possible that the pyramids were built by aliens, It's possible. And then the people that work in archaeology or in the field, they get offended by these comments. They're like, you're taking away a lot from the ancient Egyptians,
Yeah.
You're taking away from all their hard work and labor, and then because you're just saying that it's possible that aliens could have helped them. Like, what if they really did? But the thing is, if you look at the historical records and you look at the hieroglyphs that are within the pyramids that detail how the pyramids were built, the Egyptians themselves said that if it wasn't for the help of the gods, they would not be able to do this themselves.
They were always super thankful to the gods.
The gods supposedly brought them the technology and the knowledge to create the pyramids of Giza.
And it's crazy because these, like, reportings or, like, encounters with these gods were, like, pretty common, and pretty often.
Yeah.
Because certain, not even just, like, Egyptians, but certain, like cultures and ancient, basically ancient cultures, they talked about pleasing the gods because they were coming. Like, it's like they knew when they were gonna get visited,
Think so?
I don't know, man. I mean, the way they talked about these things, and
well, here's the thing about, like, them talking about gods and, like, oh, Ra, the god of the sun, the god of this, the god of that. So the thing about that is, just imagine an ancient civilization looking at a UFO landing, and then these entities coming out of these UFOs or spaceships or these star travelers. Just how would you describe something like that in a time where the vocabulary for that kind of stuff hasn't existed yet? You know what I'm saying? Like, alien, the word starship, the word spaceship, that doesn't exist 40,000 years ago or whenever the pyramids were built. I think in the year 4000 BC or something, right?
BC, yeah.
Sorry, I was way off. So like 4000 BC, something like that. 4000 BC, you don't have the vocabulary to say, oh, that's an alien or that's a starship or that's something that's flying. So with the available lexicon, with the available vocabulary, they were able to depict what they saw, which would be a god, right? A god coming from the heavens, which would be the skies, because they don't know what space is exactly. They haven't been out there. They haven't done that research. So they say, okay, well, what's up there? That's called the heavens. When you look up, they probably don't even say sky. They say the heavens.
Yeah.
So something came from the heavens that emitted a light source, which would be Ra, the sun god. How do you describe an artificial light in 4000 BC if there's no electricity back then?
It's like someone fucking holding a flashlight back then. Like,
Exactly. It's like, oh
it's
shit.
gonna look like a power, you know, like a superpower.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, the UFO that Bob Lazar was talking about, because he said that thing emitted light, right? Emitted this I forgot, like blue light or whatever.
Yeah, like a beam kind of.
So let's say, for example, that whatever UFO landed back in the day had this light, not a blue light necessarily, but just a light, some type of light that was coming down from the sky. As a person, 4,000 or what would be 6,000 years ago, person 6,000 years ago would identify it would be, okay, so this thing that comes from the heavens and that's emitting light. So it has the power literally of the sun. The only other thing that at the time produces that thing, that light.
An unnatural light.
An unnatural light source. So, because back then you don't have light bulbs. Back then you don't have, LEDs. You don't have any of that stuff.
All they had was candles, torches.
Yeah, like fire, right? So.
But it wasn't like I don't think they understand. I don't think they understood what light was. You know.
Yeah, like if it was a controlled light source, like a light bulb, they'd be like, okay, well that's not fire. The only other thing that can make that is the sun. And if it was a bright light that matched or was close to that kind of luminescence, then they'd be like, well, whatever this thing is, it's most likely...
It's powerful.
It's most likely the god of the sun, because that's the only other thing that could make that kind of light. You know? So they'd be like, okay, so now they're gonna write it down. This thing, the sun god comes down from the heavens and gives us a technology to create the pyramids.
Information.
Yeah, or like information. So it's like, that to me proves that there might be some kind of interconnectedness between humans and some other kind of advanced civilization that came down from the fucking space or from the heavens 4,000 years or 6,000 years ago.
But do you think if they actually do come down like aliens, you think they give us like information for us to live by? You know, like they kind of give us like guidelines or
I don't know,
like an outline kind of thing? Because why do we find certain things appealing? You know, why does someone look at a sunset and they say, "Oh, well, that looks nice"? Like, what is it about a sunset? You know, and even just something simple as that, like, is that just that? What obviously it's just a natural occurrence. You know, it's just like the sun going down, but what specifically, like, led us to say, oh, this is beautiful or whatever, whatever reaction you might have to it?
I think it's just human instinct, man. Like looking at the end of a day. Maybe that is just a small fragment of what leads us to our survival. Like something that makes us look forward to the end of the next day to keep on moving forward. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It may be that. It may be just things like that. Small things like that. But where was I with these pyramids? Oh yeah, the sun god, right?
Yeah.
There's similarities between different ancient cultures if you really look at it. Like pyramids in Giza are not the only place where pyramids exist. If you look at Mesoamerica, or if you look at like the southern Mexico area, you see these megalithic structures of what appear to be pyramids that look or resemble the pyramids at Giza, right? And the stories even line up a bit, because if you look at the story of one of the Aztec gods, which would be, I think it's called Quetzalcoatl.
Oh yeah.
Quetzalcoatl or something like that. It's this giant flying serpent in the sky. So that was like their main god or something, right? Again, it's this entity that could fly and move about, and according to the Aztec text,
in a snake-like motion.
According to the text or whatever they left behind, that thing was the mediator between the earth and the heavens. It was the god of that, between the heavens and earth. It's like, what the?
And the in between, yeah.
Like, okay, why would people write bullshit back in the day? You know what I mean? Like, why would people write shit that makes no sense? Like,
when they have the claim you could have made these days is, to tell a story to make money, to profit off it. But
Yeah.
back then, what did they have to profit? There was no media, there was no news outlets, there was nothing for them to tell, and there was no reason for them to make stuff up.
Yeah, I mean, this was
Yeah.
literally a fucking religion.
Yeah.
It was a religion. Like, literally,
That's
you
why-
believed
that's
in
how
the
they
gods.
lived,
You,
yeah.
you praised the gods. Human beings were sacrificed to the gods, you know? If there was...
Animals.
if there was, like, a drought, or if, like, there was some kind of, like, epidemic, they'd have to sacrifice human beings or sacrifice animals to please the gods. These
Or-
all-powerful beings.
Or even someone who like committed a crime.
Yeah.
They would do it so that the gods wouldn't be so hard on them.
I heard that they wouldn't sacrifice the the detainees or whatever kinds of people they invaded. Like they would have to sacrifice
Their
people
own.
that were like worthy, like warriors.
Yeah.
Warriors would have to get sacrificed, like people that had higher ranking in the Aztec civilization.
Because they didn't want just a common person.
Yeah, I
According
mean,
to gods, they wanted someone,
worthy
Yeah.
to be sacrificed. It's crazy. Like if something like that was a practice, like you have to really think about, like, why was this story so important to them? Like maybe because it's true. Like they wouldn't just create some bullshit ass story.
Oh.
It's like, how do you describe something like that? How do you describe an alien back then? You can't. Like the vocabulary doesn't exist. How do you say spaceship?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a spaceship back then. There's no such thing as all that stuff.
Essentially, yeah, it was a god. And that's what they thought it was because they brought down information and technology that was far ahead of where we were at that time.
Well, according to them, they're like, well, I mean, they said, all right, yeah, we built the pyramids, but you got to give credits to the gods. They're the ones that gave us the information. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of crazy, right?